we had a little bit of a rough year, like a lot of people. My wife and I share the income load in our house, and she didn't make any for a long time, and so we had some days where we actually had to really, really trust the Lord, which was a good exercise for us. And I remember one day in particular when we had dinner, but it wasn't a really good dinner, you know what I mean? It was like, it was going to be an okay dinner. Nobody was excited about it. And so we got the kids together and we prayed, and we just said, Lord, here we are, help us, we're needy. It wasn't a very faith-filled prayer, but here we are for that. And about an hour later, knock on the door, neighbor across the street, he said, man, we had a party yesterday and nobody came. I can't believe it. Nobody showed up. We have all this food. Would you guys want some more food? And we're like, yeah, I think so. I think so. I was cool about it. No, I said, yes, we want your food. So we had these huge burgers. The Lord totally took care of us in a few days. Everything was back on track. But that was a thankful meal that was pretty off the charts for us. So we've talked about heaven. We've talked about how our everyday life can be filled with worship. Now, what happens when we all get together and worship the Lord? Because when we have the ability to just walk in the presence of God on a daily basis, and the glory of God is with us, one of the most important things that I felt like I was supposed to say today was just that the Lord will draw people to himself when we are more full of the glory of God. And when we walk in worship on a daily basis, and whether we eat, drink, or whatever we do it all for the glory of God. And then we come together, and there's even more of the glory of God. The Lord will even more be able to draw people to himself. And lost people, even more than they are right now, will find him. And so, as we get together corporately, I want to give us 7 biblical ways that the Lord invites us to worship, just in the few minutes that I have left. 7 biblical ways that the Lord invites us to worship when we gather corporately. It could also be when you're having just your time with the Lord, privately, in your home, or wherever the Lord and you like to meet. The first one is found in Psalm 123, verse 1. And it says, unto you I lift up my eyes, O you who dwell in the heavens. Psalm 123, verse 1. Unto you I lift up my eyes, O you who dwell in the heavens. And so we've talked about the Lord dwelling in the heavens. And he wants to encourage us to lift up our eyes to him. And when we lift up our eyes, our whole countenance brightens. There's so much depression out there. There's so many things to get down about. There's so many circumstances to get under. The Bible talks about the fact that the Lord wants to give us a garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. And many times, just all of that weight can just drag our eyes down, and we don't find ourselves as happy and as full of the Lord's life as we'd like to be. And so he just encourages us, sometimes just as a discipline almost, just because it's in the book, to lift up our eyes and to see the Lord, because we know when we see him, we'll be changed. And so that's an awesome way to worship him. I'm just going to throw out some practical things. My friend Brenton Brown, some of you know him. He's a songwriter. He's written some great songs of worship that the whole church is singing. And we played at a worship event together one time, and he took his mic stand and he put it way up high, and then he put his microphone down like this. So the whole set, he was playing like this and lifting his eyes up to the heavens as the microphone was coming down. I thought, wow, that really touched my heart, because I could just see what he was conveying and what he was displaying in his heart that I know is so to worship. Number 2. I think we're doing okay on time. Got a few more minutes. Number 2 from Psalm 134:2. It's one of my favorites. And it says, lift up your hands in the sanctuary and bless the Lord. Psalm 134:2. Lift up your hands in the sanctuary and bless the Lord. Now, I grew up and I really struggled with lifting up my hands to the Lord. We didn't have the most expressive worship in the church that I grew up in, and I got a lot of good stuff, and if I badmouth those guys, they're going to hear about it on Facebook, and they'll come to my house. So I'm not going to badmouth those guys. Lots of good friends back there. But we didn't have the most expressive worship growing up in this church that I was in. And this didn't really exist, but we thought it existed. We thought there was this secret group called the Usher Mafia. You know, that if you raised your hands in worship, they would tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, you know, we'd like to meet you outside, you know, and we'd like to, you know, talk to you. And our friend Louie would like to talk to you about raising your hands. Those guys didn't really exist, but we kind of felt like they did. And so when I went to college, I went to a church, and everybody was raising their hands, and I thought, wow, this really makes me uncomfortable. But I thought, you know, it's in the Bible, and it's sort of like a command, so maybe I should try it. So I made sure no one was looking, and I looked around, and no one was looking, and so I lifted my hands up. We'll call this half-mast. And I lifted my hands up half-mast, and I checked. And I just knew that as I did this, that cameras were going to swing onto me, and they were going to beam it, you know, like straight to CNN. We've got a guy in Texas who's lifting up his hands halfway. What is he doing? This is crazy. And then I realized the Lord started working on my heart. He started showing me, it's not about me. Wow, worship, it's not about me. I thought it was about me, but wow, it's not about me. It's not about how uncomfortable I felt or how self-conscious I felt. It was about the Lord and about lifting him up. And so once I figured that out, I lifted my hands up to him, and I was like, wow, this is awesome. You are awesome. You're an amazing God. Wow. And I felt like I had just surrendered to the Lord at a new level. And it just touched my heart, and it still does. And for me, this is pick me up, Daddy, you know, or this is you're awesome, or I just want to be a part of your life, you know, in a surrendered sort of way. So just wanted to throw it out there. Again, these are not things, you know, you have to do, but if the Lord is doing something in your heart to move you forward in these kinds of things, then go for it. Psalm 95:6 is the third one. And it says, "Oh, come, let us worship and bow down, and let us kneel before the Lord our Maker." And I love how Pastor Byron at different times will encourage us to kneel before the Lord. I just think that is so awesome. And I want to encourage us, if you're physically able, if not, just do it in your heart. But if you can, once a day, bow before the Lord. Even in the morning. Someone said, throw your car keys under your bed at night. So you have to get down there. And while you're down there, you might as well bow before the Lord. And then you're cool.